Welcome to chess, ladies and gentlemen. All right, man. So you guys know we got the Speed Chess Championship going on right now, but we do have a little bit of a break. So I was able to grab a game that Wesley So and Fabiano Cara want to play. They kind of play like a little series of games, you know, kind of trying to keep themselves sharp and fresh. So I figured I'd go ahead and bring you one of those games real quick. So as always, my people coming from the Philippines, I would say Salamat. And anybody else from around the world, I appreciate you stopping by. But if you guys are ready to go, man, let's take a look and see what we got for this game. All right, man, so we got the move D4. We got D5. Let me fix my camera here. Or, I mean, not the camera, my lighting. Let me get that hooked up. Okay, cool. So we got D4, D5. We got knight to C3. Now, this is known as a Chigorin variation. Now, I will say this. It definitely is much stronger for you to go C4 first before you go knight to C3, because then you don't block your pawn. You kind of get a little bit of a better center, more attacking, stuff like that. But this is definitely playable. You kind of see this in like French defenses and stuff where it's in front of the pawn. So you are good to go. We do see knight going to F6, and then bishop goes to F4. And I mean, it's looking a little London-y. I just created that word, man. Don't worry about it. But I mean, it kind of has like similarities to the London system. We do see the move E6, and then we see knight B5. Bro, so I can see Fabiano Caruana from this side looking like, bro, what does he think he's doing? Bro, like, what's cracking here? Like, you think I'm like an amateur? This is like really beginners. He's kind of scholar mating him real quick, you know, on the queen side. We do see bishop to B4 check. We got C3. We do see bishop back to A5, and now we have just taken care of that C7 pawn. You also had the ability just to go like knight A6. That works as well. We do see the move A4. And the crazy thing about this game so far is there's like a lot of beginner ideas in it. You know, you're like, okay, knight B5, bishop F4, you attack C7. Maybe they don't see it. We got A4 because we're planning B5 and B4 and A5, trying to trap the bishop, stuff like that. So they're just making sure that they keep sharp on their elementary, you know, knowledge. We do see A6. We got the move B4, nice little in-betweener. Bishop to B6, we got A5. So we still kind of do have that idea, you know, but we are kind of pinned down on this A file. So we see pawn taking B5, pawn taking B6. We got rook taking A1, queen taking A1, and then we do see the move knight to A6. Now, you really didn't have like a better alternative. I mean, you don't really too much want to go knight to A6, but the problem is if you go knight B to D7, you would either be looking at pawn takes or bishop takes, and I mean, you just want a pawn for free. And you have displaced this queen. So, I mean, that's not ideally where you want to be. Plus, the king's not castled, so don't get into that, bro. So, we do see knight to A6. We got pawn taking C7. We do see knight going to taking C7. We got the move E3. So, you know, like I said, we kind of got like a little London situation. We got the similar structure. We got the bishop outside our chain. So everything is everything if you're a London player. And we do see bishop to D7. And this is the novelty of the game. It's kind of interesting for me because this is a French defense structure. Even like, you know, Queen's Gambit decline type structure. So, I mean, this is a very, very common move. But it's the novelty as we see it. We got queen to A5. And it's like, I win if I'm white. No, you don't win. I mean, it does look really nice. You're like, hey, bro, I'm like pinning this stuff down right? I'm going to win it. You're not winning it because the queen is protected by the king. So you can just go knight to A6. And it's like, oh, never mind. I thought I was good, but I guess I'm not. We got queen taking D8. We check. We got king taking D8. We got bishop to D3. We got king down to E7. Now, I mean, obviously the king has moved, but because of this structure being very French-like, you know, it definitely is a good situation. Like if you don't castle, you're still good to go. Everything is good. So we got king E7. We do see the move H4. Obviously, as you guys can probably see, you don't really have any way to get any space on this queen side over here. I mean, you literally have no pawn pushes at all. So, I mean, this isn't a desirable pawn push. So you kind of have to try to look for some counterplay on this king side. Now, I will say this. A very honorable mention move is going to be the move F3. If you look at the situation, your bishops are pretty good. You do kind of need to get your knight out somewhere at some point. But one of the major things is, I mean, you want this knight to kind of like not have a great life, right? And the rook is probably going to come over here and hit this pawn right here. So you can go king to D2. So definitely F3 would have been very honorable, just kind of keeping this knight at bay, making it make some other decision on what it's going to do. But we do not see that. Like I said, we see H4, which is nice. You're getting space too. But we do see knight to E4 because basically Fabi's like, bro, if you give me E4, I'm going to go E4, bro. So we got knight going to e2. Now, one of the other things about knight going down to e4 is it is heavily influencing this pawn right here. And I mean, because the game is a little bit open, it has a potential to get open. You don't really want to give this bishop for this knight. But you probably are going to end up having to do that. We do see rook to c8, and like I said, something's got to give because you actually can't presently go king to d2 with this knight controlling d2. So we do have to get rid of it. Bishop takes, pawn takes, and then we do see king going to d2. We got bishop going to c6. Rook goes to a1. You know, you're hoping at some point maybe this knight moves away and you can kind of infiltrate and try to put some pressure on this, you know, 7th rank, of course. We got bishop going to d5. We got rook up to a5, you know, hitting this pawn. If you're looking at black's position, white really doesn't have the same weaknesses that black does. You do have these double pawns if you are black. So it's not like, I mean, you're just going to win the game completely with rook to a5. But it's definitely not a bad move to be playing if you are playing this game. But we do see bishop to c4, and this is just kind of plugging everything up, and we're good to go. We got knight going over to g3. We got the move f5. We got the move f3. Now, I mean, I will say this. F3 is it's a very good move here in this position also. I mean, you're kind of just trying to break things apart in the center. You know, you're trying to, you know, improve your knight's position and stuff like that. So, I mean, if you got, you know, pawn taking, your knight would definitely be loving that. But we do see pawn taking f3 and then pawn taking f3. And we got the move g6. You know, you definitely don't want the knight to just be kind of hopping willy-nilly all into your position. So g6 is trying to prevent that. But we actually do have an idea that comes up later, and you guys probably might see it. When you do have this kind of fee and kettle type of structure, you do have a hook move, and it is h5. So we see that coming up later in the game. We got rook go down to a1. Now, I will say this. Rook to a1 is not the most accurate move. This is kind of one of the things. When you have placed your piece in a really good square, it's generally best to leave it on that square. Don't undevelop the piece because you could be moving it to like a less, you know, like an inferior square. You know, the rook is actually doing a good job of hitting this pawn and really not allowing this bishop to kind of get the range of movement that it really kind of wants. You don't have the ability to go here, or anything like that because you got the knight, you got the king and everything. So you're really tying this bishop down and kind of making your bishop better than the opponent's bishop. So, I mean, don't release that. When you see rook to a1, I mean, now this bishop is kind of free to move and kind of do what it wants to do type deal. We got rook sliding over to g8. We got the move e4. King goes to d7. We do see king going up to e3. So you see that Wesley So is like slowly kind of getting his king a little bit more into position. It's slightly better than this king. It's not like you're writing home or anything, but I mean, you know, Wesley So is definitely building up a nice little position. We got pawn taking e4, pawn taking e4. We got rook over to f8. And we're not going to fall asleep or anything and go like king to d2 and just drop our bishop for no reason at all. So we're good to go. We do see that hook move that I was telling you guys about before. This is a very good move to try to break down this structure and create some targets. We got rook over to g8. We got pawn taking g6, rook taking g6, and we got rook sliding over to h1. So even though it wasn't the absolute best at the time to move rook to a1, you know, we definitely found some life for the rook. And that's why you really want to kind of start breaking things open because your rooks are going to love you. They're going to give you some hugs, bro. We got rook up to g7. We got rook over to h6. We got knight back to c7. I was thinking in this position right here, like, bro, you got to say this knight is crying. Like, look at this knight over here. It's like, oh, bro, like, look at all these tears that's coming up, right? It's crying a river. Here's the river right here. This knight is not happy. The knight's like, bro, I got to, like, live some kind of way where I can't just be stuck on a6. So Fabi, you know, he heard my plea and he listened to me. You know, Fabi's good at listening to me. I'm like his coach. Just playing. We do see knight going up to h5. Rook goes over to f7. We see knight to f6 with check. King goes down to c6. We do see bishop taking c7. Rook taking c7. We got the move d5. We got king to b6. And then we do see pawn taking e6. And it is in this position that Fabiano Caruana resigns the game. Now, I think some of you guys might be looking at the situation like, wait a minute. I mean, yeah, I mean, but I'm going to get the pawn back, like, if I'm, like, black, right? Like, I mean, bishop takes e6. Like, I mean, this can't be, like, just completely over, right? Well, there's a tactic in the position that we actually have. The best absolute move to go in the position is actually rook to e7. This is a very poisoned pawn. It's not poisoned after you take rook takes e6. So this is definitely kind of a way that you can, like, continue to go forward. You know, but you are looking at a situation where the knight is going to go to d5 and is creating a lot of threats. Going back in the position, if we did see bishop taking e6, you would automatically be looking at knight to d5, and this is an absolutely horrible situation. This bishop is pinned to this king, and you have just forked the king and the rook, and this is an endgame that nobody in the world really wants to play against either one of these guys. You definitely don't want to do that. But like I said, if we do have this position here, the rook slides over to e7. I mean, you would be looking at this move here. And I mean, you know, you can start to go into trades. You're going to have like an extra pawn. So like, let's say, for example, you got rook taking, bishop taking. Okay, the thing about your position that you have right here is you have 3 healthy pawns. One of them is kind of detached. You got this knight. Make sure you don't lose the knight. But black has these doubled pawns. So the biggest liability going into some type of an endgame as black is the fact that these pawns are, I mean, you really want one of these pawns to be right here. It's somewhat holdable more. I mean, it definitely is still lost, but I mean, it's a lot better of a situation for you to have the pawn, you know, kind of on the side of the other pawn. But with these pawns like this, you really just have no chance of being able to, you know, have this kind of a structure and go into a successful endgame. They can't protect each other, and that's one of the problems with double pawns long term into the endgame. And I mean, the bishop is kind of going to be kind of just like going back and forth, like trying to make sure that this pawn doesn't push, because king is probably going to go to c4. So I mean, that's just kind of giving you a little overview of what kind of would happen in your position. And this is not something that anybody really wants to play against anybody else, especially these caliber of players here. So all of my people in the Philippines, I will say mabuhay. Kamusta na aking magkaibigan? Magandang umaga. It is like about 7 o'clock in the morning, so magandang hapon if you get up in the afternoon, whatever you got going on. And there was a phrase that I wanted to say, and I was trying to remember it. So it is kapaya paan sa inyo. Peace be to you. It's kind of like assalamu alaikum in Arabic, right? I appreciate you guys very much for coming by. Let me see. Malaka see Wesley So in this one. And I'm going to see what I can do tomorrow. We do have on the 5th, I think in 3 more days is when we resume the Speed Chess Championship. So if you guys have any suggestions of any videos you want me to cover, any games that you know of that you want me to cover, let me know in the comments. And also I almost forgot. So I got a donation from I think Gamo. I'm not sure how you say your name, bro. I think Saudi Arabia is where you're from, man. So I appreciate you very much on the donation. It's been a long time since I got a donation, so it was kind of like nice to get one after a while. So I appreciate you, man. But I'm gonna see everybody next time.